Well, as you can see, it's day 4 here at the Court of Arbitration for the Judicial Panel of Inquiry. So far, we've only had one petitioner who's been able to testify, a man by the name of Mr. Undukwe Ekekwe. And he, if you saw the footage earlier, he was wheeled in by his mother, and he gave a very harrowing experience of what he suffered at the hands of alleged SARS operatives. And what he's claimed today is that he ended up in a wheelchair because he was pushed off a 2-story building by some SARS operatives, which caused him a spinal cord injury, which had to be operated on. He claimed to have been arrested on the 16th of February 2018, taken back to his store on the 17th, where money was taken from him, goods was taken from him, and sold as well. His mother was here, but she was not able to testify, unfortunately. And at this point, they have adjourned the case to the 13th of November, which is 10 days from now, Friday, the 13th of November. As you can see, I don't know if you can see behind me, there's a screen that has been set up. So at this point, there is a bit of a claim that the Lekki footage from the October 20th shootings might be shown. The panel, however, have gone behind the scenes to deliberate as to whether or not it's going to be shown in open court. So at this time, we're really just waiting to see. Members of the press and members of the public are really buzzing if this is going to be the day where we see, of course, the footage from October 20th. It's something that the whole nation, if not the whole world, has been waiting to see.
Well, Shaitan, are we likely to get any other petitioners today come to state their claims?
Of course, there are other petitioners that are lined up, which is one of the reasons Justice Doris Okobi gave, saying that, we have only a limited time. This panel is supposed to start at 10 and end by 4. So they were able to quickly go over the first petitioner's testimony. However, they had to just take this quick recess to deliberate on how to proceed.
All right. What's the atmosphere like there, Shaitan, in terms of who is attending, journalists, people witnessing the event?
I mean, if I could just get my cameraman to just pan and give you a sense of what the room looks like. We definitely have legal counsel in here. We have members of the press. We have members of the public and even private citizens who have showed up to make sure that they are holding the Judicial Panel of Inquiry accountable. So definitely there's a sense of urgency in the air. This is day 4 of the inquiry. And as you can see, people are just waiting for them to come back from their recess.
Thanks, Shaitan. And in terms of promptness, in terms of orderliness today, have things gone as planned? Did the panel start on time this morning?
Well, unfortunately, the panel did not start at 10 a.m. They kicked off at approximately 10:59 a.m., which has kind of been the culture here. I don't think there's ever been any day or any time that has started 10 a.m. prompt to whatever reasons. On the first day, it was because of the swearing in, and the day after, it was because they were waiting for some members of the panel. But eventually, it kicked off at 10:59, and here we are. The time is now 1:15, and we are in a recess, as you can see.
And finally, Shaitan, I know you mentioned the Lekki toll incident, and you made reference to the screen, and people are anxious as to perhaps today might be the day we'll see the visuals. But the testimonies we've heard so far, have we heard anybody come directly affected from the event of October 20, 2020 at the Lekki toll?
Unfortunately, no. We've not had any petitioner who is directly related to the October 20 shootings that, of course, happened at the Lekki toll gate. It's really just been people that have had cases with SARS operators and were looking for restitution. But there is a sense of, just kind of speaking to people behind the scenes. I think the biggest problem here is the security of these people, because we know the controversy that has surrounded this October 20th killing. So I think what it is people are really just waiting to see how maybe the first 2-3 weeks or even the first month of the Judicial Panel of Inquiry goes before they start to come in. But I can't say for a fact that of all the petitioners that have come in to testify, not one is a direct witness as to what happened at the Lekki toll gate on the night of October 20th.
the judicial panel here in Lagos, where the managing director of the Lekki Concession Company, regulators of the toll plaza, is now speaking.
Yes.
So it then follows from your answer that at no time was the surveillance camera removed or tampered with by your company from its position. That we never ever tamper with that surveillance camera. And as we probably will see in the footage, that's why the footage, we can still get the footage. It remained there until about some time later in the day, around 8 o'clock, when it was tampered with and we couldn't get any network anymore. What I mean is that we are talking about recording on footage. We will come to
until 8 p.m. when you
around 8 p.m. I'm talking about the physical camera, as we saw it that day, is still there. What around and after 8 o'clock, we stopped recording.
Yes.
Now, what was responsible for the stoppage of the recording of the surveillance camera at about 8 p.m.? The major cause is because the system, the network, the way it is that we have the network. The network is the one that connects the buildings together. As of today, we have 3 of them. We have one camera. We have the second camera on the Ikoyi Bridge. We have the third camera, the same camera, the southern camera, in front of the server itself. That is where the database resides. Get anything. But the network brings all the cameras together to communicate together is resident or was resident then at the Ikoyi office, which has been gone. The Ikoyi Plaza. The Ikoyi Plaza, the Ikoyi Bridge.
Yes.
Now, what is the source of power of the Judicial Plaza? Essentially, we have independent power project source. We have the IPP. IPP means Independent Power Project. That power is supplied from somewhere around Lekki is one. That's the major source. Then we also have our own generators, where there is no power from IPP, we switch on our generators. Then we have this one that we can use to do a stopgap. That's our UPS, because the tolling system can never stop having power. So between when we are moving from one source of power to another one, the UPS will be on. These are the major ways we power the equipment at the plant. The IPP, the generator, and on a small scale, the UPS. Of the generators at the toll plaza on the evening of the day of the incident. Consequent upon the declaration of and as a responsible company that cares for the safety of our staff, we also issue a communication that everybody should comply. Communication out to all staff to go, and everybody knows. So, including those that are supposed to be in charge of the generator, because everybody has to go.
Now, the initial announcement of curfew, before you ask all the staff to leave, was to start from what time? The curfew was initially announced by Lagos State government.
We had 4 o'clock.
Now, on both sides of the toll plaza, there are advertisement billboards.
Yes.
Yes. Who is in charge or who is responsible for the management of the advertisement billboards?
Now, the sources of revenue to LCC are coming from major
LCC. You have
Lekki concession company.
yes.
Our major sources of revenue are revenue. That's the vehicle that are passing and collecting money. The second major one is the advance that we do on the road. As part of our strategy to maximize this, what management did was to give this out to private advertising agencies. One of them, because we have many of them, one of them is the owner of the one on the top of the plaza.
And
So it is not directly managed by Lekki concession company.
okay. Now, is your company in any way involved in powering or supplying power to those?
They are fully independent.
Any of your staff the events at the Lagos in the Lekki Toll Plaza on the 20th, the evening of the 20th of October 2020.
Physically, no. All that we can say today is relying on the footage, the camera, the video footage that we have. That background, why we're not physically present.
Yes.
You can explain
Why we were not at this environment at all, particularly on that day, was the prior days had seen a progressive over of that environment. We started early in the month when
taking over by who?
being taken over by the protesters. It started when, at the beginning, we saw a group of people with the ensigns. What we were doing on that particular day was to have a passage through the plaza from one side of the Lekki phase 1 to allow them to make that passage. But progressively, as the count they won, at the point, we're now beginning to have issue where they are now beginning to occupy.
Slow down, please.
So progressively, we notice the movement and the position of the protester now remaining around the plaza area. Call it a middle junction. Area is the cubicle where we have our people sitting down to work. At that point, we have to withdraw the people because it was just impossible for us to depart. So at the point also, we try all we could to avoid any form of confrontation. So we have to withdraw people out of the area. Up to a point, we now, towards the end, maybe around 1918, I'm not sure the date now, but towards the end, we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that preceded that 20th. We saw a lot of activity. At that point, it was just not possible for us to be around there. So we had to move away from there. I was not there at all because I have been harassed to say that I've been trying to bring in the police. They gave out my number to stay out of the environment completely. That's what we do.
No, that's all for the witness.
Thank you, my lord. Lekki Concession Company, can you tell the panel who owns it?
As of today, it is owned 100% by the government of Lagos.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
On a normal day, is it open for ingress and egress by everybody? No restriction. Are other people allowed to just walk around and stay within that Toll Plaza area on a normal day? If there was nothing like protest.
No, sir. The only movement you will see will be the movement of vehicles, not human being walking.
All right, the managing director of the Lagos Concession Company, LCC, Lekki, there testifying before the Judicial Panel of Inquiry here in Lagos State, talking about the fact that the cameras were on, but at 8, it was either tampered with or something. And then he was asked later who owns LCC, and he said, I think something like it's a Lagos State. Audio coming across not terribly clear, but that's the LCC managing director there testifying before the panel.
Well, indeed, we do apologize for the poor audio coming out from the Judicial Panel of Inquiry at that time. I would try to reconnect with the team on ground and get you better footage as soon as we get them. Indeed, we've been hearing from the managing director of the Lekki Concession Company. He's been asked questions as to the recordings. But earlier, there were news reports of some footage being tendered as evidence. But now it seems that what we have may be recordings just up to 8 p.m.
Well, that's exactly what it sounds like, Adesua. It sounds as though what the Lekki Concession Company is saying here is that the only footage that they have is footage up until 8 p.m. What happened after 8 p.m., it's still not clear to us. From the sounds of what he was saying, there was clearly some sort of tampering with. But there are still a lot of questions that need to be asked and a lot of answers that Nigerians need. And like we said, we'll definitely be reconnecting back to the Lagos Judicial Panel in just a moment, as soon as we can establish better connection, as this is too important for us to miss. We are back now at the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry, so let's tune in to the LCC MD who is currently testifying before the panel.
Does Lekki Concession maintain armed security apparatus within that complex?
Armed security by yourself. Armed.
Yes, in all the 3 locations we have, because of the nature of our job, we collect cash, we carry cash, we have equipment that are very valuable, so we have what we call dedicated policemen, just for security purposes.
And for the period of 8th of October to 20th, you had no reason to engage the policemen to interface with the protesters?
None at all. None. We never, not for a second, interfere with others.
Now, you mentioned the surveillance cameras mounted on your facilities at Lekki, Chevron, and Ikoyi. How many in all are these cameras, the surveillance ones?
There are 3.
And how are they located? Where?
The one at the Southfield Plaza is located on.
No, don't worry about them for security reasons. Just tell us the location of the 3.
It's that one is located, the one at the Southfield.
I want to know, is there one at Ikoyi, another one at Chevron,
yes.
Another one at...
Yes,
that's what I want to know.
One at Southfield, one at Ikoyi Bridge, one at Chevron.
Thank you. Are these 3 cameras networked in terms of being able to communicate with each other? Are they network so that there's a control center you can see globally what's happening in the 3 locations? Now, where is the command and control center for this camera? CCC.
The command, what we call...
Out of the 3, don't mention, but just tell us which of the 3 do you have the command and control center. Don't go into details.
What we have is, right?
Is it at Lekki, at Chevron, or at Ikoyi? The command and control center.
CCC is at Chevron.
Thank you. Where is the network control center, NCC?
That one is at Ikoyi Beach.
Thank you. The surveillance technology deployed by Lekki concession, how modern is it? When was the last upgrade that you did to bring it up to the latest high-tech? What year?
To the best of our knowledge, from our IT and from the company that did implement it for us, it's up to date.
It's up to
Up to date.
2020 technology.
I need to be very careful when we say 2020 technology, but it's with the current, it's the contemporary technology.
And when you say that, you are talking globally, not just within Nigeria.
No, globally.
Globally. Thank you. Please, so that we can assist the audible panel. This surveillance camera, the one that does the PTZ, panning, tilting, and zooming. Do you know of whether it has capacity for detection, for recognition, and for identification? These 3 functionalities. That surveillance camera, do you know if it has capacity for them? You don't have to be technical if you don't, but at least you have an idea of what you can do.
Yes.
As against the one you mount by the book.
Yes. Yes, that is why it's able, as high as it is, it's able to pick some of those things that we have today. It has that capability of detecting, of identifying the objects.
Okay.
Because it can also zoom.
Now, what is the radius of this surveillance camera? How far away from its location can it capture images and record?
Yeah, it can go as far as between 1.75 kilometers and 2 kilometers.
On either side?
On each of the regions, any side. It can go that far.
Does this camera have audio capacity? Apart from visual, will we be able to hear sound of what is recording, or is it simply to record the visual images?
I'm afraid to say ours, we did not activate that audio functionality. And I can tell you why.
Please, go ahead.
We essentially we deploy the camera, surveillance camera, for the control and management of traffic, not human stuff or things like that. Our own is to be able to look at our traffic on the second-by-second basis, and the main purpose, our main purpose, is traffic management. And we believe that just seeing the images is sufficient for us. That's why we do that today for us.
And you to put life to this testimony, give us an example of what you can use that for. In terms of traffic management, what does it assist you to do?
Okay. I can be in this location now, at this location now, because we also have it on our phone and private devices like iPad and others. Instead of me running from one location to another one, I will look at it and I will know if the traffic is coming from Oluwalobo, which is as far as Chevron, or is coming from Black Monday, or is coming from whatever spot. And that enables us to deploy people to go and sort it out. That's what the camera is for.
Now, I noticed that sometimes you have free passage. You allow us to just drive through without paying.
What is the outcome of that observation? If we look at the volume from our control room, we look at the volume of traffic that we have, and we know that there is a certain number that the plaza can process per minute per second. We do an estimate and say we cannot afford this one. This camera enables us to make this kind of objective decision.
Now please, let's, can I have the exhibit standard? Not the camera exhibit, just those exhibits. There are one or two things. Please show witness exhibit C. Let him confirm it. Yeah, you tendered that document.
I did.
Now, if the panel may so permit, confirm the date that that conversation, that message was recorded in your system. What date was that?
It was on the 11th of October.
11th of, as at that date, posters had started gathering at your premises.
They started on the 8th.
On the 8th. Now, please, can you read the message there? That was.
Sir, the MD of LCC, in bracket, Lekki Toll Gate, just called his CSO, a former SAS boss, and with the instruction of the government, they are bringing SAS, in bracket, in police uniform, and RRS to harass protesters on Lekki Toll Gate tomorrow. Because of the traffic they caused today, I can't tweet this on my page because I work there. And please hide my identity. Let everyone stay safe.
Thank you. Now, that was on the 11th.
Yes.
To start with, do you have a SARS 6 security officer in your company?
We do not.
Or retired or former? Secondly, after the 11th, when this message was circulated, was there any incident of police or armed personnel showing up at your facility, either at Lekki or Chevron, up on the 20th?
Not in our knowledge. Not in our knowledge.
Now, can you look at Exhibit B? So that Exhibit C that you earlier read is from a source. Can you identify the source? It was in circulation, but do you know who was the author?
We saw it on Twitter.
On Twitter. Now, look at Exhibit B. Who authored that exhibit, sir?
This is my head of HR, Teresa, and I authorize her to do so.
Very good. Now, please, can you read the content? Confirm the date, the time, and then read the content.
Tuesday, October
20th, 2020. Time
is 2:49 p.m.
It's copied to me, and the subject
is state coffee.
Good afternoon, all. I hope you are all doing fine.
A view
Of the prevailing unrest in Lagos State, the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has imposed a 24-hour curfew on all parts of the state as from 4 p.m. today,
20th of October 2020. Staff are hereby advised to adhere strictly to this injunction
and stay safe.
We will keep monitoring the situation and update you accordingly. Thank you. Warm regard, Teresa Bolaji, Head HR.
Thank you. Now, the curfew imposed by Mr. Governor on that day was to commence at 4 o'clock based on the information available when this exhibit was issued.
Yes.
Was Lekki concession granted a waiver from compliance from that curfew?
No.
The signage operator that you licensed to mount their billboard, to the best of them, were they excluded from compliance with that curfew?
Not aware, sir.
Now, we were all with the panel, and I believe you were also in the company when we visited the locus, your facility.
Yes.
The signage operator, do they have independent access to their facility outside of your own facility? Can they mount, can they get up to that place without going through your facility?
When we went that day, we took a particular step
Yes.
to get there. Because they are our partner, they can have access to.
Very good. Let's talk about the lighting system in the facility. That's the lighting system, not just the power. How do you light up the place?
We have the independent power.
I understand the power. Now, at night, how is that place lighted on a normal day? If you are
If we are on the ground,
yes.
when darkness approaches, people on shift will go and switch on the bulbs, the external bulbs. Otherwise, during the day, it's off.
Can you tell what time of the day ordinarily would they do that? Based on experience, what time of the evening would you consider it now to eliminate the facility?
The general principle is because sometimes you have longer day or sometimes.
Just give us an idea.
On the average, it should be around 7:30.
Good.
So,
Thank you. And as at 4 o'clock, you had exited the facilities.
before 4 o'clock, yes.
The personnel whose duty it will have been to go and switch on the lighting system must also have left based on your instruction in Exhibit C by 4 o'clock.
Everybody was asked to go. No exception.
And so, at your departure at 4 o'clock, in whose hands did you leave the security and protection of the asset of Lekki? Was it in the hands of government that said you go, or some private company? Who did you expect to protect your assets? Since government said you should vacate the property after 4 o'clock, who did you expect was going to be responsible to protect your assets?
It was a helpless situation. Yes. We just have to think about safety first. At that point, nobody.
Now, you expected that those who have to vacate your facility were in control of the law enforcement powers and they should be able to give you protection.
That's what we believe.
Thank you.
Because at that point it was beyond our power.
Thank you. Has it come to your knowledge that it's been alleged that Lekki Concession Company switch off the lighting system in the facility as at the time of this incident, that you actually switch off the lighting system? Have you heard that kind of allegation being made against Lekki Concession?
Yes.
How do you react to that?
And at the point we issue a press statement, it's part of what we tender. Yeah, we never switch off anything. We did the best.
Now please have a look at Exhibit A. Is that the press statement you refer to that you issue?
Yes, sir.
Please, with your permission, can you please read out the relevant portion that talks about?
In all here, I have 7 paragraphs. I will read paragraph 6. LCC receives power from IPP grid. The power, albeit stable, is taken off from time to time. At such times, LCC relies on the backup generator for power supply. However, following the declarations of the country by the state government, LCC withdrew all her staff from the office locations. This is the reason why the light could not be restored when the main from IPP went off temporarily. This can be verified.
Thank you. Now you said so it was not only the Lekki toll gate alone that you vacated.
No.
You also vacated Chevron,
Yes.
as well as the Koi,
Yes.
so as to be in compliance with the curfew order.
Yes.
Now, please assist us. Apart from IPP and your generators, you have this backup UPS.
Yes.
From my understanding, UPS is supposed to automatically come on.
Yes.
If, as you said, there was seizure of IPP power supply,
Yes.
even if you are not there,
Yes.
for some time you will expect the UPS to come on.
It came up.
Oh, it came up on that day?
Yes.
Thank you.
You will see it on the footage. It came up.
Okay, thank you. Even though you were not there, the thing came up.
We saw
It was not disabled.
They will see, to be seen.
Thank you.
It's automatic.
Did you receive instruction from any security agency, for whatever reason on that day, asking that you should power down your facility or take away cameras in the booths? Did you receive any instruction from any security agency?
No. Not for me.
How about your owners, Lagos State government? Did the Lagos State government, by any means, ask you before you exited at 4 p.m. to switch off power source or remove camera? Were you under that kind of instruction from Lagos State?
No, sir.
Yes. As a government-owned company, your reporting line, direct reporting line, does it go to the governor in terms of what you need to update them about?
No, we have a board.
Thank you very much. The proactive steps you took to anticipate possible risk of vandalization, destruction, was a management decision. You did not need to get board approval for those kind of things.
No. It's purely management decision. We just have to review things and we
Time went. Now, your staff, your employees, direct employees, are they working presently?
No, we're not working. Everybody's at home. One or two of us, because when we received the invitation
From the panel.
we have to bring some people back to help us to, because without power, there's no way we can access. We have to bring some people back to,
Just for that purpose.
just for us to, and maybe at the end of the day, we also want to appeal to allow us to have access, so that we can carry out, because we still need some other things to do.
Access. Okay, now. I remember we went with you to the facility. Are you suggesting to this panel now that from the date of Eastern 20th, except for when you went with the panel, you have not had access to that facility?
No.
So it's only by the panels.
We went there together and we will probably today appeal to allow us to access so that we can attend to the insurance and other people that are partners.
Now, for the period that the protest lasted, you were out of revenue.
Totally.
Totally.
Yes.
Is there any indication as to when you can resume normal functioning service at the Lekki toll gate? You were out there, we saw some things. Has that been, for now, a projection of how soon that facility can return to operation?
Any projection made here will just be a guesswork. When we went there that day, I saw the level of destruction there. The whole tolling system is completely out. It takes nothing less than 6 months to get those things back. We need to first of all assess. We need to now go on design. We need to now go on procurement. It will not take anything less than 6 months.
Have you retrenched any of the workers for now?
No, sir.
Now you mentioned there are different companies that you concession advertisement license to. Can you mention some of them? Not just one.
We have LOSAT. We have LOSAT is spelled LOATSAD for dog. LOSAT. We have Prodigy. Prodigy Nigeria, yes. Prodigy. We have eye contact, as in the eye that we use to see. Eye contact. We also have e-motion. I'll take the page. We have LOSAT. We have Prodigy. We have eye contact. We have e-motion. E-motion. These are all advertising companies in Nigeria.
Yes. Now, have you up to today been able to confirm with identity that is verifiable any fatal casualty from the event of 28th within the complex of Lekki? Have you confirmed a verifiable identity of any person that was a fatal casualty there? Yes. Now, you remember on our visit to the locus, to the site, your location, in company of the distinguished panelists, there were some form of observation of strange elements that people attributed to be probably firearms, ammunition, but nobody was able to confirm specifically that anything was either a bullet or a shell casing, scientifically. But you observe, as we are descending on the floor by the police, some people saw one or two consult materials that suggested something having to do with firearm, expellant, or whatever. But we don't, but as at now, we don't know what they are. Do you have any training as a forensic analyst or balistician? Your message. Do you have any form of training? Do you have any form of training or expertise to function as a forensic scientist or balistician?
I don't have.
Now, Mr. Governor has responded to this incident severally since 20th of October. He has addressed the populace, he has issued certain guidelines and appeals. Do you have any reason to believe that Mr. Governor, knowing that that investment is the investment of Lagos State, all Lagosians, do you have any reason to believe that Mr. Governor ordered armed soldiers to invade that premises and engage unarmed protesters who have been there peacefully for 14 days, 12 days, to be shot? Do you have any reason up to today to believe that?
I don't want evidence of his opinion on the point.
Just to find out if he has anything.
No, I disallow that question.
My Lord, it's all right. My Lord, at this stage, the only thing left for me is to reserve until we can view the footage. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Mr. Serikin.
Yes, my Lord, in view of the observation on the evidence of the witness,
It's not working. Yes.
my Lord, in view of the evidence of the witness, that they've not been able to access the only confirm whether the tribunal might still have any or maybe further visitation to that site, and then maybe plead that they'll be allowed to go back to be able to take stock of the damage and commence the process of
So my humble request is that if the tribunal does not have any further need to visit the toll plaza, that the Lekki Concession Limited, subject to the approval of the tribunal, be permitted to take back possession of the toll plazas for purpose of evaluation of the damage and the commencement of the process of carrying out necessary repairs.
after the sea was in the footage, we will still have the lead. My demand is that we grant them because we've not seen what is in the footage. We will still have lead to be there to verify. And that's what I'm saying, because we've not seen what is in the footage.
All right, you've been watching the Lagos State Judicial Panel on Restitution for Victims of SARS-related abuses and other matters as well. The manager of the LCC Lekki Lagos Concession Company, Abayomi Mamua, he's been testifying, said quite some things. So many questions were asked him about the surveillance camera, where they are located. 3 places, one in Lekki, Chevron, the other in Chevron, the other in Ikoyi. And then, of course, where the command control center is and where the network control center is. And the command control center is at Chevron, while the network control center is at Ikoyi. I'll have my colleagues weigh in on what he has been testifying before I bring in some other issues at this one.
Well, indeed, he's been speaking for quite some time now. He also highlighted the fact that when the curfew was declared or imposed by the Lagos State government, the initial time for 4 p.m. was adhered to by himself and members of his staff who had to evacuate from the premises, and so they did not physically witness what happened on the 20th of October at the Lekki Toll Plaza.
Yes, and what we could see going on just before this break as well is that questions were now being asked about what the panelists were able to see for themselves when they took a trip down to the Lekki Toll Plaza a few days ago. So certainly what we can see here is there's still a lot of questions that need answering. There is still a lot of gray areas, and we have to be able to put this puzzle together. So it's so important that what is going on right now is happening in the public space for all of us to be able to contribute to this discussion as well.
All right. He also brought up, the lawyer or counsel also asked questions on what the camera, the surveillance camera is able to do, and there were 3 of them: detection, what it detects, recognizes, and then, of course, that of identification. You could call it an acronym, READ, RID. He also talked about the radius of the camera, 1.75 kilometers to 2 kilometers, but that the camera, the surveillance camera, has not been configured to have an audio capacity because it's not activated. They don't need it. It's basically to monitor traffic, is for traffic management. So that particular audio capacity is not really needed. That was what the LCC manager Abayomi was pointing out there a while ago during his question and answer sessions.
What's interesting here is that the message that was circulating on the 11th of October, I believe it was, that went across social media and some other forms, was also brought up here and questioned at this panel. And the message read that the MD of the LCC had just called a former CSO SARS boss, the CSO former SARS boss, and with instruction they're bringing SARS in normal uniform to harass protesters. Now, this was a message that was alleged to have gone out from an LCC staff, and they brought this to his knowledge as well and questioned him about that too. So it's good to know that everything that's been out in the public space, everything we've seen in the public domain, is being brought right in front of the people that need to answer these questions. Every single spot of grey must become black and white.
Indeed, he was also asked about the lightings around the toll plaza, because you would recall that initially we had reports of cameras and the lightings before the soldiers came and started shooting. He said they are not in control of those boards. However, the people who could also put on those lights or put them off were also affected by the curfew, according to the MD of the LCC. But let's go back to the panel.
Granted the permission to resume possession of the toll, Lekki toll, with a view to taking stock of damage done and take necessary steps to make claims to their insurers and make arrangements for repairs. We are of the considered view that those steps are necessary, but we will not grant access just yet. The footage presented in the well of the court must be viewed, and the need may arise for the panel to make another visit. For the said reason, the application is not granted today. It can be revisited after viewing of the footage, and the panel is convinced that it will have no further need for another visit. Before we take admissibility issue.
We just thought
that we then join the sitting because we have no agreement for us.
Maybe you call it tete-a-tete there, cross-checking notes, deliberating on the next step of action. In case you're just joining, the managing director of the Lagos Concession Company.
Lekki Concession Company.
Lekki Concession Company, rather, Abayomi Omamuwa, has just finished testifying, and quite a lot of things that were spoken, but now they're deliberating on the next step, next course of action, as it were.
I would say, though, one thing we've also confirmed today that's out there again in the public from what we've heard in this testimony from the LCCMD is that the Lekki Concession Company is 100% owned by the government, the Lagos State government. And he was asked if he has to therefore report directly to the governor, to which he replied that no, there is, of course, a board in place for the LCC to sort of give us an idea of the structure of the company here and what is going on. So very good for viewers to know that LCC confirmed to be 100% owned by the Lagos State government.
Yeah, because there was talk about it. There were, talks about it being owned by the former governor of Lagos State, leader of APC, Tinubu. So, he's been able to come debunk that and said the Lagos State government owns it solely. And then he also talked about when the council was asking him what happened at 4, that was the initial time the curfew was given before it was extended to 9 because people couldn't get home by 4. And then he said, well, they weren't bothered really then about how.
Hope to.
Okay, we'll take you back to the panel. The chairman is.
But we are not quite ready with the system we have in the hall for today. We need to play back. We need to make sure that it would operate, to be operational, and we don't want to keep you here whilst we are fiddling with it. We want you to come in when we are ready to play it, and the proceedings can continue. In that behalf, we are compelled again to adjourn this matter to Friday, 6th of November. Are you in this matter?
So we are part of the NBA amicus curiae observatory team, Michael Collins, and okay. So we were told to make some observations of the proceedings. incident, and one of the vital observations that we made is that the line of questioning for the MP made us, it raised some concerns on our behalf, because it was meant to be an examination in chief and then followed by a cross-examination. The type of questions that were being asked, some of them were leading in our opinion, and so we want to know what's the nature of this particular, what is the nature that this particular inquiry is going to take, because ordinarily there should be a petitioner and a respondent, both of which would be different parties, opposing parties. But in this particular instance, we feel that there is the LCC and the Lagos State government. The LCC is 100% owned by the Lagos State government, like the agency said. So we have an issue with that particular arrangement. So we want to ask, is there an independent lawyer that would do a proper cross-examination of the MP of the LCC, or will the MDA will be required to provide assistance in that regard?
Well, if you care to look into the terms of reference that with, it says to investigate the incident at the legislature and make necessary findings and recommendations. Anybody that has anything that would assist the investigation is invited to appear before the panel. If the MBA has an interest to cross-examine the people who have given their testimonies on behalf of the Lagos State government, you are free to do so. We are on an investigation here. As many interests arrive at a just decision is invited to join at this proceeding. The scope is different from where you have a petitioner complaining about violation of his rights, the respondent and cross-examine. That is not the scope of this particular term of reference, to investigate. They are here to assist us, furnish us with whatever information they have to enable the panel make findings and recommendations. Anybody who has an interest, please come in and present credible and provable facts to assist the panel discharge the onus on it in terms of that particular term of reference of the panel.
I'm really thankful for the clarification.
Yes.
And it's precisely the question, and one of the main questions that I am asking. The second one is, I believe that in terms of questioning, because in a judicial inquiry, the role of the lawyers is to elicit questions from the witness and not necessarily to direct the witness on how to answer. So I believe in the observatory role, there should be a constant watchdog that would examine what kind of questions are being asked and the kind of questions that should be opposed, so that it can be opposed at the instant and not at a much later date.
This is a panel of inquiry. The rules of evidence are strictly not applicable. So also are there no rules of court applicable. We have our own peculiar rules for the proceedings. If you look into the rules for the proceedings, you will find out that the conduct of the proceedings is in accordance with the rules set out for these proceedings. So please take your time to look into the rules of proceedings made pursuant to the Tribunal of Inquiry law. You will see that nothing has been done outside the terms of the law setting up the panel.
Your answer is well received, and my question has been answered.
Thank you very much.
So that we clarify position. There is this rule of proceeding issued by panel.
Yes.
And I can see rule 1D entitling MDA, if they have a grievance, to also submit
their own
presentation. And in the miscellaneous provisions, sir, rule 8, the rules that apply to the anti-SARS petitions are equally applicable to the additional terms of reference.
Yes.
So I believe it is important that those who have issues against LCC or against the state government on what happened at LCC can also submit their
memorandums
within the LCC's own term of reference. So I believe that even if they don't have grievance, they are one of those recognized that can even participate to cross-examine.
Yes.
I'm not here for LCC. That's why we have the difference between LCC as an entity and Lagos State government, even though it's owned by Lagos, it's a separate entity. So I have a right to defend Lagos State's interest as regards what happened at LCC. So that's just, so I'm not here to pose up rules. If the witness is answering question the way I was, I don't need to aggravate, I don't need to fight it. But if he doesn't cooperate with me, I know what to do. But for now, I think so far I don't have any such issue. You are very much impressed.
Thank you very much.
And may I, with respect, announce the appearance of my learned brother, Anyton. SAS. It's part of the chief of the university.
Very well.
It was before the learned brothers in court, ANP. Thank you.
Very well. The proceedings in this investigation of the event of 20th October 2020 in the Lekki toll gate must come to a close for the day. It stands adjourned to 6th November 2020 at 10 a.m.
Watching the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry on Restitution for Victims of SARS-related abuses and other matters. That's including the Lekki toll shootings of October 2020. Just towards the end of that, we're listening to divergent views on how the panel has carried out today, especially on the issues of Lekki Toll Plaza. And someone raised the question to say the legal counsel, the legal team of the Lagos State government was leading the managing director of the LCC company to answer favorably.
You know, it's interesting because everyone here is just trying to do their role and play their part to get the answers that, quite frankly, everyone wants. And like he rightfully said, I'm just here doing what I have to do. And I mean, if the other party does feel aggrieved for any reasons, then I know what to do. But someone is here to ask questions, probe, and get to the bottom of this. People are here, rather, to probe and get to the bottom of this. And, you know, it's been quite a full day of activities at the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry that we've seen. There was just one testimony prior to this that we did have today, a man named Ndukwe Kekwe that gave his testimony around 11:25 this morning, who was in a wheelchair based on what he alleges SARS officers did to him, having thrown him off a 2-story building. After that, the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry went on recess, and during that recess, we were told by our correspondent, Shaitan Atigarin, that we were likely to see footage from the Lekki Toll Plaza of the events of the 20th of October 2020, shortly after the testimony by the MD of the Lekki Concession Company began at the Lagos Court of Arbitration, and that has taken us up until now.
Yeah, and just to add, for those who are watching, that's just the building where it's been held, the Lagos Court of Arbitration. That's where the panel is sitting. And it's quite interesting that the chairman, Okwobi, pointed out to the one who was asking the questions about the way and format the questions were going. She told him basically this is an investigative panel, strictly investigative, And if you have anything to present, if you have anything that can be of use to the panel in helping unearth whatever is hidden, make their job better, then you get it on. All right, we have our correspondent Shaito Tigari. Shaito, let's start with the fact that the manager, Abayomi Omamuwa, he said that at 8 p.m., help us confirm, he said that at 8 p.m. There was no more recording. What more can you tell us, you on ground there, that has been playing out at the Lagos Court of Arbitration where the panel has been sitting? Shaito.
Indeed, I can definitely say that the crowd here at the Court of Arbitration here was shocked when the managing director of the Lekki Concession Company by the name of Yomi Omomowa did confirm that the recordings on the night of the 20th of October 2020 did in fact stop at 8 p.m. and he has credited it to network issues. There was a back and forth between himself and the legal counsel for Lagos State, a cross-examination there, where he was asked to probably go into the type of cameras that are at the Lekki toll gate, and he did confirm that they have the PTZ camera, which is a surveillance camera, which is used to pan, which is used to tilt and zoom at Lagos, at incoming traffic at the Lekki toll gate, as well as an automatic plate number recognition camera. So these two cameras what will be found at the LCC. Unfortunately, it's the surveillance camera which is very important in proving what happened on that fateful night. He has confirmed that it stopped at 8 p.m. And we know at this point that the military allegedly arrived at the Lekki toll gates between the hours of 7 and 7:30. So as you can see, the reaction from the crowd is that of disappointment, because they believe that they would have seen a full-fledged footage of what happened that night.
And Shaitan, like many others that are watching, millions of our viewers watching, you did mention earlier that we might likely see the footages today. From what we're hearing now, this matter has been adjourned. So what exactly can you tell us about that? Why was it adjourned? Why are we not seeing the footages today?
Okay, so according to the chairperson by the name of Justice Doris Okuobi, because of technical difficulty, something to do with the screen and the setup, we will not be able to view that footage today. And they didn't want the entire, crowd, the press and the public just waiting here while they fix that technicality. So at this point, it has been adjourned to the 6th of November, which is on Friday. So definitely, it's something to look forward to, that by that time the evidence which was taken into the jurisdiction, the authority of the panel at this time will be reviewed and played in full display of the court on Friday the 6th of November.
Well, certainly we will be coming back on Friday, the 6th of November, to follow the next sitting. Many thanks to you, Arise correspondent Shaitan Tigari, for the updates.